Microsoft Excel has 1 billion users worldwide. With this ever-evolving landscape, there are newer and better functions being released all the time. That's why in 2019, Microsoft released a number of different formulas and functions that are going to help us scale up our Excel skills. Today, we're going to have a look at 12 of the most popular and useful ones of these. Now, if you'd like to follow along, there is a link to the file in the description below, and if you want to move ahead, there are timestamps as well on this video. Ready to dive in? Let's get to it.
So the first formula that we're going to have a look at is the text split function, and what this does is split the text with a delimiter. So let's start the formula, text split, and we select the text that we want. You have an option here for column or a row. So we're going to try out the column delimiter. And what is the delimiter? So between the space here, we need to add a hyphen and close it. Then we do a comma, and then we just close it with a bracket. So as you can see, it's split the name across two. Now we can also select those, just double click, and it will just take the formula down. Now we can use it in a different way, and that is how we can have it in a vertical format. So if we do text split and we click on that, so now when we press the comma, it goes onto the column delimiter, but if we have another comma, it moves over to the row delimiter. So this is going to split it over the rows. Now we just go on to here and we close, we make space here, close the bracket, and there you have it. Now, similarly in the text join function, we are going to combine a number of cells. So we just go onto text join, and the first thing in this syntax is to define the delimiter. So you may want to have a space, but in this example, we are going to use a hyphen. So we just do that. Now it's important to note that if you want to ignore empty cells or you want to include empty cells, that's also possible. But in this case, we are not going to have anything. So we just add another comma, and then you simply just choose the cells, and you can continue as long as you want, continuing to add the cell references. So when you press enter, you can see the hyphen there, and we can drag this down. So there you have it. Moving on to text before. So now we have a reference number over here, and it's made up of 3 different elements. We have a reference code followed by a hyphen, and then in the red, it's a stock on hand and followed by a price. Now we want to split this up into the SKU number, which is the code at the front, and the price, which is after that. So there is something in the middle that we don't really need. How are we going to do this? We're going to use the text before. So this is the text, and we're going to have the delimiter as a hyphen. So you need to do a comma, double quotes, hyphen, double quotes, and we close the bracket, and there you have it. So you can just drag that down. Now we can move on to the price as well. So perhaps the price is something that you want to extract, and that's right after the comma. So how do we do this? We do the text after. And the text after, this is the text. Now the delimiter we have is the comma over here. So once again, quotation marks, comma, close that, close the bracket, and there you have it. Drag that down. 2 formulas, perfectly useful. Okay, moving on to TOCOL function. What this does is take your array of data and stack it up in a column. So the function is TOCOL and tab across. Now we highlight the array, so it doesn't matter if there are blanks because you can ignore them. So when you have a comma, you can then see the options here. So you may want to keep the blank cells, but in this example, we're going to ignore the blanks. So in this case, we're just going to put 1. And you can by default go by row or by column. So if you want it stacked up by column B, C, D, or you want to go downwards in a column, you go to Emily, Ayana, and we're going to just practice that. So let's just go by row. press enter, and you can see you have Emily, Jason, Sarah all there. Now let's just try and move the last delimiter, which was a 0, and we're going to put that as a 1. And now we see that we have the data coming by column and stacked up. Similarly, in the to-row function, instead of stacking it in a column, it's going to have it in a row. So to row, and once again, select the range here. Then we're going to ignore the blanks. And then we are going to either go by scanning row or we're going to go by scanning column. But let's just do that, and in a similar way it works. So there you go. You have then the data coming on a row. Okay, we'll have a look at the VSTACK function. Now you may have data sets that are coming in from different stores or different regions and you want to combine them. So the best way to be able to combine these is to use the VSTACK function. So if we just do the formula VSTACK, it's very simple, and we select the array, comma, followed by the next array, comma, followed by the next array. Now you simply have your data stacked up here. Now, what we can do is make this dynamic. So for example, if we do have for a new item here, and we can make it $2, you can see that it just ends in the brown bread and it won't continue to add. So the way to do this is to make the tables into the data sets into tables. So let's go ahead and create this. Control T for a table, and we're going to repeat that on all of these. And we're going to repeat that on this as well. And now when we add a new item here, we will see that it dynamically adds the new item below here, and you can add in the data right here. Now the HSTACK works in a similar way. So this is simply just a horizontal stack. May work for some of you. You may want to use this function and stack up things all together, and there you have it. So it just horizontally stacks up your data from the arrays that you need to use. Moving on to wrap rows. You may have data that's split up into similar datas together and there's no real way of reading it. So for example, in this, we have the days of the week here, and then you have numbers, and then you have then names, and we want to stack them up into the relevant columns. So we use equals wrap rows, wrap columns, and we highlight the data there, and we want to split it in every block of 3. So 3, close the bracket, and you see you have Monday, Wednesday, Friday here, followed by the numbers and the names. While the wrap columns function might not make sense in this example, we could also use wrap rows, and that is a similar syntax. We highlight the data here and we are going to split it up into 3. So if we just close the bracket there, that makes maybe a little bit more sense into your data, where you have the days, the numbers and the names. Moving on to the take function. Now what this function does is it takes either a top 3 or a bottom 3 or anything that you define. So if we just go to take and we highlight the array, comma, and we type in, let's say 3, we will now be given the top 3 data items over here. Let's see, there you go. So these are moved onto here. Now if you want to simply look at the bottom 3 items, all you need to do is add a minus for the bottom, and you have the last 3 items here. Now obviously this won't make a lot of sense, especially that you're using numbers and you may want to find out the top quantity sold or the top prices sold. So let's have a look on how to do that. So we're going to combine this with the sort function. So let's just go across to here and we add the sort function and open the bracket, sort. And what we're going to do is look at the array here, we comma there, and we want the sort index. So the sort index is by which column over here do you want to sort it by, and we are going to now look at the quantity sold. So we're going to look at the 1, 2, 3, 4th column along. So we put that in a bracket. Now you can have the ascending disorder or a descending disorder. So let's go for the ascending disorder. Close that, and we already have the formula with the take that's finished off here. So once we press enter, we can basically comma here, we missed that, and there you have it. So now this gives us the top 3 quantity sold items. Now we can do one of 2 things. One is we can put a -1 here, and that will give you the bottom 3, or the better way to do it is we go and we change this to, so you have a bottom and a top. Now we have the top 3 items here, and then that's a descending order. So there are just 2 functions that you can use together with the take function. Now the drop function, this works in a very similar way to the take function. So instead of keeping the rows in the take function, we are going to drop or remove the rows in the drop function. So let's go into it. So equals drop. Now we highlight the array, and now we're saying to the formula the number of rows that we want to remove that are either at the top or the bottom. So once again, let's try 3. So what this is going to do is remove the first 3 rows here and return us this data over here. So there you have it. So you have the first 3 rows here that are removed, and now you have the data set with that. Once again, you can put -3 to remove then the bottom 3 rows. So these rows are now missing. Combining this with the sort function. So let's do that. Sort. Now we can move along to the data set. What do we want to remove? Let's remove the quantity sold for, and how do we want to remove it? Either the lower or the higher. So we can put in 1 and a comma, close the bracket here, sorry, close the bracket, comma, and that should return us removing the top 3 items. So basically the 12, the 10 and the 10 doesn't appear in this data set. If we go and remove then the minus from the 3, we will now see that it has removed the bottom 3 quantities sold.
A lot of the formulas that you've seen in today's video are combined with other formulas such as unique, filter and sort, which will be covered in later videos. Now, if you've learned something today, I would appreciate a thumbs up, and if you would like to see future videos like this, then please consider subscribing. Until next time, happy spreadsheeting.